about the targets, the ambitious target that have been set by the Ghana Revenue Authority. Now, the GRA says that they're going to rake in 360 billion cedis by 2028. And to put that into perspective, just a few years ago, they were doing about 113 billion. And I think last year or so, maybe, I'm not too sure. But so the question is that can Ghana, so can Ghana really triple its tax collection in just 5 years? I mean, in just 3 years, because we're in 2025, right? And this isn't just about numbers. It's about how government funds schools, hospitals, infrastructure, and even pays salaries. And it's also about how much more businesses and ordinary Ghanaian citizens might be asked to contribute. So some say the target is bold and achievable with the right reforms. Others warn that it's too optimistic, given our economic realities. And we are here this morning to talk to a tax analyst, and he's going to help us understand, I mean, from his perspective as well, what all of this means to us, what opportunities there are and what challenges there are as well. I have joining me Richard Amohene. He's a tax analyst, and he joins me in studio for this conversation. Master Richard, you're welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z.
Thank you, and good morning to all your listeners.
It's been a while we spoke. I think we spoke last month or so.
Yeah.
But good to have you this morning. So to start us off, I mean, of course, GRA has announced this 360 billion Ghana cedis target by 2028. From your perspective as a tax analyst, what exactly does this figure mean in context?
Okay, this means that government is going to. This announcement was not made by government. If it was made by government, then we're going to say that then government is going to bring in new tax reforms and to be able to generate it. So, and this is coming from GRA. So it also
GRA is not government.
No, GRA is not government. GRA doesn't make the laws.
Right.
No, GRA is an operator, administrator of the laws. So GRA rely on which laws have been made by government passed by parliament.
Yeah,
so GRA by itself will not be able to go and say that we are going to change the tax laws, we are going to do in this particular way. So they will only be able to advise government that based on this, I think this is what is the trend, so we can change in this particular way. Okay. So if GRA is making such a statement, then it means that GRA is going to rely on existing laws, to be able to achieve it, this particular one. So I see it in a way that GRA is going to either fine-tune their operations, fine-tune what they are doing currently, and then they are being able to assess their current performance and are being able to identify areas they can tap in to be able to generate this revenue. That's why they're giving this kind of huge promise to government and Ghanaians. So in perspective, I think that GRA coming up with this, I see a kind of change in their modus operandi to be able to achieve this particular one. Yes,
I see. But looking at our historical revenue performance, for instance, I mean, we've spoken about, we've mentioned the amounts we're doing just last year, and all of that. I think you mentioned that. But before we came into the conversation, but how realistic is it to expect this kind of leap in just 3 years?
Yes, when I heard it, and then anytime anyone asks me a question, I use this analogy. The story that I hear that an old wise man who told a young wise gentleman he had a butterfly in his hands, and then asked the young man whether the butterfly is dead or alive. So a wise young man said, it depends on you. Okay. The reason why he said it depends on you is that if the young man says that if it is dead, the old man will open up his arm to let a live butterfly fly out. Okay. But if he says it is alive, then the old man will squeeze his hands and then have and kill the butterfly, so that he show you a dead butterfly. So it depends on you. So from my perspective, it depends on GRA and then their operations. In the system that we operate, the kind of economy that we operate currently, and the data that's available, there is a lot of resources. There's a lot of tax. There's a lot of tax bits that sit in the system that have not been tapped already. So if someone makes such an assumption, such a statement, you see from that perspective, okay, have you found a new way of going to collect the uncollected tax revenue that sits in the system, yes. Then if I say it is too optimistic and you can't achieve it, then I also look at it, will you be able to reform within this short period to be able to assess the tax revenue that you until now you have not been able to assess. In 2023, we're doing 42 billion Ghana cedis. 42 billion Ghana cedis. And in 2024, we did 142 billion Ghana cedis. In 2024, we did 153 billion Ghana cedis. Yeah. And that was giving us around 13.6 tax to GDP ratio. That was what was giving us. Meanwhile, we are looking at getting to around 18 to 20 tax to GDP ratio. Yeah. So what we are currently having, it tells that there's a big gap that can be covered. And analysis, we'll be going into the details, but analytically, you can see that there are a lot of potential that GRA can tap into to be able to raise the funds. So in my opinion, it looks quite realistic that can be achieved, but it depends on GRA.
We'll talk about what exactly it depends on. But this year's target is 200 billion. I'm not too sure of the figures by mid-year. I think they exceeded their target in the first quarter. I don't know about the other one. I don't know if you know.
Yes, GRA was able to exceed their target in the first quarter. The target is 202 billion Ghana cedi, and it's when I saw it stores to be much quite ambitious anyway. The reason why I get this, even one of the reasons that gives me a bit much of optimism of GRA being able to achieve the 360 billion without necessarily changing, without necessarily putting much more tax burden on existing taxpayers. Please let me stress this. Without necessarily putting much tax burden on existing taxpayers. One of the reasons why I think GRA will be able to achieve is this: be able to operationalize, be able to to make their system much more efficient, to be able to achieve it. In 2022, we were, as at third quarter, we were performing below our target. By the end of the third quarter, we have exceeded our target for the whole year. And one of the reasons was that it was coming from the hike in the the currency, our currency devaluation, because we had a lot of dollar taxes coming up. In 2024, we were closing the year at around 14.7 to a cedi, and it also helped government to be able to get a lot of tax revenue. In 2025, it's a reverse, but still, GRA has been able to work hard and achieve exceed the mid target for the year. So that tells you that the institution is doing something different, a little bit different. And that's what gives me a bit more confidence that, yes, it is possible that they'll be able to achieve it without necessarily putting tax burden on the taxpayers. Mind you, Minister of Finance has announced that there's going to be a bit of reforms and then removal of the COVID-19 is going to, COVID-19 contributes about 1.5 billion. Okay, then there's going to be reshuffling of the VAT calculation so that the levies are now likely to be deductible. So if it's going to be deductible, and that was given at around 6 billion, okay. So all these are going to move off. So if these are going to move forward, then it requires that either you find an alternative tax revenue to plug off the gap that you're going to have, or you have found other means to be able to generate much more revenue with the existing tax laws, without putting much burden on the...
Much burden. So you don't expect that they will introduce some more taxes? Is that what it means?
Yes, from analyzing it from this, there's been a lot of... Ghana, we have one of the highest tax burdens in Africa, Ghana. If you look at the VAT, we are doing on effectively 21.9. If you look at our corporate income tax, 25 with the mining and coal, going to 35. If you go into personal income tax and you are within the high bracket, you are going to 30, 35. All right. On average, you are likely to be within 32 if you are within the high income and a high income earner. On average, effectively, you are going to be around 32. So we have a high tax rate in within the African enclave. So even around the world, we are one of the countries with the highest taxes. So I do not expect introduction of a new, because if you do that, it's going to burdenize the people. It's going to increase the burden on the people. Right. So I do not expect. What I expect is that GRA and government should be able to find the loopholes that sit within the system and be able to enforce and close them. Right. Even GRA themselves have even found, Minister of Finance in 2020, when the Minister of Finance was even inaugurating the quality tax unit, the quality tax unit. I mean, they themselves found out and said that there was about, they made a reference to a McKinsey research that said that there was about 24 to 30 billion Ghana cedis if we can make our tax collection system efficient. So even that money sits over there. Right. So just make it efficient and collect 24 to 30 billion extra. Let me add it to our current target of 202. We are hitting to 230. Okay, so it means that is only one. You can find some more to be able to close the gap.
And you trust Anthony Sapon to deliver?
Yes, he's an auditor. You know, one thing that I was an auditor. I'm also an auditor. So one thing that we were taught in auditor, we do what we call what could go wrong. So you understand, you analyze the system, and then you do what we call what could go wrong. So you will be. My thinking is that for the 6-7 months he has been in office, he might have done a proper what could go, what can go wrong, or what is going on wrong. To be able to identify all the loopholes, what is going on wrong. Then when you find what could go wrong, then you find measures to plug all those ones. So maybe I think he's been able to do that.
I see. But let's talk about some of the specifics. I mean, the indicators. Is it GDP growth? Is it inflation, debt servicing, consumption that give us that hope that Ghana might be able to deliver on this? What exactly?
Okay, if you look at our GDP projection, it will not be able to give us. If you look at our GDP, because currently, 2024 we did just a little over a trillion Ghana cedis. That's 1.095, 1.015 or 1.095. That's what we did. Our tax to GDP ratio is 13.8. So that gave us a 153 billion Ghana cedis. Okay, Ghana, we are expecting to grow by 5.7. So if you look at the growth of 5.7 alone, we are going to get 161 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. Just if you want to analyze it based on our growth, we are going to get 161. Even that alone, we cannot achieve our 2025 target. Then if you look at where the growth is coming from, agriculture, which has a lot of exemption, okay, because agriculture push a lot into the service. Because when you look at the numbers from our GDP, agriculture was doing 243, service was doing 501. Within the 501, trade, which is the trade, a lot of petty trade and co, was doing 214. That 214 is a lot of feed from agriculture, all right? Yeah. So and they have a lot of exemption, and mind you, a lot of them sit in the informal sector. So a lot of them sit in the informal sector. In this case, if your system is not efficient, you will not be able to get the taxes that is coming from that area. So looking at our GDP alone, we will not be able to achieve it. But let me bring these numbers through. GRA on report said that we have about 18.
Which of the reports?
Normally they do an assessment and go. So that said that we have about 18 million taxpayers. Okay, registered taxpayers, 18 million. But just about 3.3 million are paying taxes. So that means that there are about 14 million if you are able to catch 50%. So if 3.3 is giving 153 billion Ghana cedis. So just move it to 10. How much are you going to get? Move it. Just don't go for the 18 billion. 18 million taxpayers. Just move it to even 9. How much are you going to get? So that means that alone is able to double your tax revenue that we are expecting. True. That's why I am saying that I am not expecting a change in law to generate more taxes, but I am looking at making your system much more efficient, being able to catch up with compliance, being able to make incentives. No, you can even reduce tax rate to bring out incentives, because one of the reasons a lot of people are not paying taxes is that I finished my calculation and know that I'm going to pay 32 average percent tax.
That's a lot.
Yes, so I'll quickly have to find what other means of tax avoidance. I won't use tax evasion. I'll have to find other means of tax avoidance. So you can look at all these are some of the things that are actually going on.
So GDP is unable to deliver.
In my opinion,
the inflation numbers are looking quite good.
Quite good.
Does that give us some hope?
No. So inflation normally is just telling us how price increases. So what it means is this: even inflation is even going to have effect on GDP. So if prices are increasing, it means that the prices are going up. Our performance in growth, that is revenue, is also going to go up in a certain manner. So if the prices are reducing, it means that prices are going to be stable. Your GDP is likely to be stable for a while, unless you have other inducers that will stimulate economic growth. Other than that, the inflation coming down alone is going to give you a stable GDP. So our 1 trillion, that's 1.1 trillion, is likely that you are going to have a little within the 1.1 or 1.2 or even 1.3 max.
Right.
All right, trillion. So GDP inflation alone will not be able to give us that level of revenue that we are looking for. And therefore it will not be able to give us that amount of tax revenue that we are looking for. So we need to look for alternatives. You either bring in new tax laws that will increase our tax rates, which no one will encourage you to do that. Right. Then, if you are not able to do that, let's look at your other areas that you are not taxing. Now, we have a gold bond, our gold board. Yeah, gold that bond. In our mid-year, we said that we were able to generate about $5 billion from gold trade. Were you able to do that in the past years? No. And it's estimated that we are going to have about 12 billion annually. So if there's going to be 12 billion annually, and it's into GRA, we can look at being able to much more efficient to be able to tax those areas, because until now they were much more within the black market or in the informal. We're not able to have them and tax them. So if all these are going through the gold board, then the revenue cannot be hidden. Your your revenue cannot be hidden. GRA will be able to have access. So the gold board, because all your trade is going to go through the gold board. All right. So the gold board is going to have all your revenue records. Throw it to GRA. GRA will have your records of revenue. In this case, all the taxes, withholding taxes, every tax that are related to your gold operation will come. So they will come into the basket. All right. Let's get it. The GRA talk about the issue of doing the taxing the digital service. No, everyone is going digital. Everyone is going digital. A lot of even companies are doing working from home. A lot of consultants are not even much more interested in having brick and mortar office and co. I'm doing from home. Okay, so being able to put in place systems that will be able to identify all of them and then bring them into the tax net. Because if you have 18 registered taxpayers and 3.8 million registered taxpayers and just about 3.5 are paying taxes, it means that we have a lot of gap to bring into the tax net. Then you have to put in place measures to be able to bring them into the tax net. What measure are you going to put in place? Let me tell you one thing of the what I think Japan did. So what they also did about the VAT was that they did a lottery. So you buy an item, there's a code on it, you put into a lottery, and the lottery is run, someone wins. So you go to buy an item, you went to buy maybe shawarma, and you took an invoice. You want to take an invoice because you want to have the VAT code so that you can go and put into your lottery. All right. Oh, okay. And then at the end of it is run every week, every month, every year. Someone gets a house because he ensured that the service that he was paying for was VATed. Right. Okay. Right. So this is what I mean. And in doing so, the VAT rate was low. All right. And a lot of people wanted to do that because instead of telling you that don't give me a VAT invoice, I said, give me a VAT invoice because I'm going to put it. And how many people? So tell me, what is the extent of the betting in Ghana or the lottery in Ghana? Who are the people who are doing it? The youth. Who are the people who are having the purchasing power within even the digital space? is the youth.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to come up with very incentives, or also mining our moral culture and goals. So you have to also mine all this. So you have to put in place much more incentives. I just use that as an example.
Yeah.
Put in place much more incentives so that people will be able to be much more compliant. All right. It might not necessarily you have to be the bulldozer within the economic space, but you can incentivize people to be able to pay taxes, to be compliant. Okay, so this is what we can actually do.
We can do, because I mean the taxing the digital. I'm going to come back to what you just spoke about in terms of the incentives. I mean, giving some incentives in terms of lottery. I mean, that is something that a lot of people.
I think this should be an advice, and I think it should be invoiced.
Okay,
if Jerry does it.
All right. Okay. Anyway, so you spoke about taxing the digital. You know, a lot of people on our digital spaces are running away from the taxes. They are moving. Some people are actually moving digital because they don't want to pay the taxes. And so, if you're asking that we go for them, then don't you think there's going to be?
It is education. It is education. There's no country that businessmen don't pay tax. There's no country. Why is it that the tax in Sweden is so high? Okay, when I check, I think it's about 43. Okay, 43. Okay, of the I think the revenue. Okay, 43%. So that's so high.
Yeah.
Why is it that they pay, and Ghana we do not pay? Why is it that they are running to pay, and here we do not pay? Naturally, no one wants to pay tax.
That's true. Because
the background of tax came as a result of as imputation. So we are taking from you, but we need to look at it, the education, and we also need to look at it, the demonstration. All right, we need to have a good education to all the businesses, on all the one who wants to do business on the digital, and we also need to look at our moderation, how we moderate it. All right, so we have to let all the businesses, all the one-man businesses, even the blogger and co, understand that the revenue that you are earning, all is not for you. Okay, so the understanding is this: if I earn 10,000 Ghana cedis, 10,000 Ghana cedis is mine, and from the state perspective, that 10,000 cedis, all is not yours.
Yeah,
if your tax rate average is 10%, it means that 1,000 cedis is for the state. So this is kind of a frank education that we need to give, and therefore, if you do not give to the state, what you're doing, it's quite criminal.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not that you're doing the state a much good by paying, you're doing this yourself good by being compliant. But it looks like, how are you going to tell them? So that's why we need to educate them, for them to understand that the funds that you do not want to pay, it is not actually for you. You do not have to keep it. Okay. And then you look at what system do you have to put in place to make sure that the person will not be incentivized. So I go to South Africa, and I want to buy.
The person will not be
incentivized to do that.
Okay.
So I go to South Africa, or I go to you go to Europe, and you want to buy goods, and you hold in your hands $1,000, and you want to pay cash. How often would they take it? Who will take it? You want to go and buy goods, $10,000, and you go to the shop and say they want to take it. The next time you see someone is coming after you, want to come investigate why you have it. Why is it so? They have put in place system to do away that cash system, to make it cashless.
Right.
Everything will go through their system, and whatever goes through their system, they are able to monitor it. Why is it that in Ghana, Yoko is chasing about people who are quote unquote having stolen vehicles? Because their system, they have in place system in that you steal it 10 years, we can still find you. And they know. And what they are doing, what Yoko is doing, what the US is doing, is just to psych everybody for you to know that if you go and buy a cheap Lamborghini, or go and buy a cheap Cadillac, go and buy a car which is worth $500,000 at maybe $50,000, and you think you have made it, you buy it, ride it, 10 years we will find you. That's what they are telling you. So there is no incentive for you to go and do it. Now Yoko has come out that there is a portal, there is a number, there is where if you are buying a car, check it.
You have to check.
So the one who wants to go and snatch someone's car to come and sell at cheap price, there's no much incentives. He knows that you will find you.
Yeah.
And it is clear. The intelligence has made it clear. You do it, 20 years we will find you, and it is clear. So when anyone is doing anything like that, he knows that he will be found. So bring the same thing here, that you have put in place system to ensure that yes, the trading that you are doing online, the trading you are doing digitally, we will be able to monitor it. We'll be able to know how much you are earning. You'll be able to come and take the taxes.
Right.
All right. Then it makes it quite more not incentive to go there. Incentive to go there to make more, because now everyone is online to trade. So incentive to go there to make more volumes, but not an incentive to go there to avoid paying of taxes. So what are you putting in place as GRA? So GRA was doing one thing, it's called the e-invoicing, the EVAT. So per law, that's my opinion. The issue of the manual invoice is even outlawed per the act that amended the VAT Act. So every invoice is supposed to go through that EVAT system. Now the question is that, GRA, have you been able to implement it such that everyone will be able to access it, everyone will be able to use it? Since when was the law passed? That's about 3-4 years ago. So you are waiting for 3 years to put in place 3 years to develop a system that at a click everyone will be able to issue an EVAT. You have not been able to do that. So if you are saying you are going to generate 360 billion Ghana cedis, one question I will ask, so that your EVAT, have you been able to do it? Then if GRA tells me that I'm able to do that EVAT system, then that tells me that yes, they are taking steps to be able, because even that system, if they do it, almost every sales will be on the system. They will know data analytics. They will be able to analyze where it went, then can easily link that system with the banking system, and can instruct the banks that every payment, it should have the VAT code. If it has the VAT code, easy analytics. I'll just put into analytics. I'll know who had what. You can't say the money has not been paid. I know when it was paid, when you did. You can't understate your revenue, because by the time you come to file your returns, your revenue is looking at you in the system. So this is what I'm talking about, that you put in place systems that would disincentivize people from avoiding the taxes. So this is what I think it can be done.
Very interesting. And you make it sound very simple. And the question on my mind is, why aren't we doing some of these things already? And I know at the center of it will be politics and the lack of will and all of that. I mean, so I don't want to go into those things now. But looking ahead, what will be some of the major roadblocks that can, that makes you a bit cautious about this 260 billion target?
Let me make a reference to another work that GRA themselves did. And then when they were launching the tax quality unit, and they said that there was about annually 700 million Ghana cedis that goes as a result of malfeasance, or maybe as a result of unprofessional practices, even with audits. Okay, and then there was also about more than a billion, almost a billion that goes waste as a result of either even delay in audits and co. Yeah. All right. So, and then some of the blocks I'm also thinking about is that your ability of the staff. Are you able to, because everything is going digital, do you have the enough human resources to be able to chase it, to be able to do this? All right. The GRA, anytime I go to the GRA office, I see a lot of people sitting there, and I ask myself, you are using online filing, you say you are doing digitization and go. But when I come to your office, I see the office always full. Why is it that you don't have the officemen on the field chasing, looking for the people who are not paying taxes and go? And I go to client service and you see a lot of people sitting there. Why is it so? Why is it that people are still have to go to your offices to get troubleshooting? And I ask myself some of these questions. So these are some of the things that are the roadblocks. And issue of enforcement. Well, let me also refer to one research that was done by Tax Coalition Ghana. What they found out was that 68% of companies said they have not been audited for the past 3 years.
In Ghana?
In Ghana, yeah. So 68% of companies said they have not been audited for the past 3 years. So if 68%, it means that 68% you have not been audited, and it means that 32% that you are auditing. And some of your audits, when they check the lifeline, some goes over a year. We have tax audit that has gone over 2, 3, 4 years that we've not been able to complete. So it means that 38% for the past years you have not been able to complete about 20%. So if you have this, then it becomes one of the roadblocks to achieving that 360% that you're looking at. Because naturally, taxpayers will not be compliant. Naturally. Because I want to either avoid that, not that they want to be non-compliant, even per their tax avoidance, tax planning will make them non-compliant. The issue is that I can advise a taxpayer, do it this particular way, but you GRA, when you come, you say, no, it's not this way, it is this particular. That's how the law allow you to revise my assessment. Right. So if you are not auditing 68% within the past 3 years, so the next 3 years, we have 3 years to 2028. So in 2028, you are not going to audit 68%. So it means that 68% of taxpayers can actually file their returns in how they want it and will not be able to recheck and get the revenue over there. So there are some of the roadblocks that I'm also the challenges that I'm actually seeing. So they are still have not been able to come in terms of digitization so well much that we'll be able to say that currently GRA still do table audit, desk audit, and desk audit is practically manual. Okay, why is it that I file my returns and then you have in our age and you have to have an officer that will have to quickly do a review, okay, and then prepare and check and do a calculation and say that just at the top level, at the high level, to say whether I have paid or I have not paid or there are some things I need to pay or not. Why is that your system that I file the returns with? Because you have all my tax payment, all my revenue, my returns and co. Why is that your system is not able to run analytics to be able to know my calculation, compare the returns I have filed with the monthly returns that I filed every month, the payment, to know whether I'm underpaying, overpaying over there. Yeah. So you have a whole team that is doing that is doing desktop. Then you have another team that is doing comprehensive audit. Okay, so the system has not been well developed so much that they will be able to automate all their operations. So it's one of the things that actually is going to be a problem, because we have what we call big data world. We have gone into AI world. Yeah. Look, there are companies in Ghana that with time you won't see human beings sitting there entering the true. So it's going to be big data. How many times are you going to check? We use one word, tick and bash, and do an audit? You are not going to be able to do that. Definitely, you are going to do underperformance of audit. So what you need, we actually need to do to be able to bring in this kind of digitization, to be able to implement it to a highest level, that you will be able to allow the systems tune it in a manner, allow it to work and to be some of the operation for you. Other than that, it's going to quite difficult. That's one of the blocks that I'm thinking.
I see. Yeah, and I agree. I agree with you. Some of the things you're talking about, the digitization and all of that, I think it's important that we move very fast into those things, so that we are able to make those things happen. Let's talk about expanding the tax net. Really, one of the major challenges we've spoken about over the period is about expanding the tax net, and we've talked about informal sector and all of these things. I'm going to come back to that very soon, but it's exactly 27 minutes after 9. This is a business breakfast on Z. If you just tuned in this morning, we're having a conversation with Richard Amohini. He's a tax analyst, and he's helping us have this conversation this morning. We're talking about whether we can deliver that 360 billion targets that the GRA has set for itself to be able to rake in that amount of money by 2028. And I'd love to hear from you. If you want to join the conversation, please feel free to send me a WhatsApp. The number to text is 0544321019, 0544321019. Or you can call me on 0303956641, 0303956641, and then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please do well to visit our platforms and then follow, like, and comment and share, and I'll read your comments for you right here. Okay, Richard, let's continue. So currently, we have a tax to GDP ratio of about 13%.
13.36.
13.6. Okay, and that is below the sub-Saharan Africa average.
Average of 20.
Yeah, 20. Is it 18 or 20?
So it's between 18 to 20.
Between 18
but yeah,
to
it's
20.
been 20 for a while.
What is keeping us that low?
So it's keeping us low because of our ability to collect the taxes. Okay. So let me just do a quick analysis for you to see. Our GDP is 1.1 trillion. Okay. So if Ghana, we are even doing, and then the 13.6% is a 153 billion Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
So if we are doing, it means that if in our Ghana, our tax rate, average tax rate is high. So corporate income tax is 25%. Okay. We have the mining 35%. We have other, because the extractive sector, they are doing very well. Okay. We are contributing a high amount of taxes. Okay. So it's very high. Personal income tax, if you are within the high bracket, average is 32. Because if you consider the impact, if you consider the reliefs and co, and then the low rates from the graduated level and co, on average, you're looking at 32%. So it means that on average, tax and the VAT is 21.9%. Okay, so and if you look at even import levies, if you import an item from offshore to Ghana and you are paying VAT and then the import duties, you are likely to do around 43%. You are likely. So it means that per this, there's no explanation why we are doing 13 points. So what tells you is that, or if we are even being a bit, we are a bit liberal. We are not so liberal. We want to be a bit conservative and say that, okay, we can't do all these percent we are doing. Let's look at 20%. So it means that 20% of the 1.1 trillion. How much are you looking at? We are looking at 20%. We are going far within 20%, 1.1. We are going far within an amount that's within the 200 or even going to the 300s. Okay, so why are we not be able to achieve this? It means that the tax revenue, the capacity or the potential is there. The revenue resource is there. But our ability to collect that one, that is not there. So one of the reasons we are unable to achieve the 18 to 20% is our ability to collect. I've mentioned to you that the 18 million registered taxpayers and 3.5 are paying. So it means that those 3.5, they are not, if they are not paying, it means we are not able to, not that they are not paying, we are not collecting.
So the problem really is not only about people avoiding the taxes, but it's also about we've been able to collect. Been able to collect it. Our ability to be able to collect it.
I see. GRA has introduced fantastic reforms that they are doing in the issue of the tax clearance certificates issues and co. They are doing the professional audits and co. They are very fantastic ones. So, but it means that what is being implemented is not enough, because if for the past 3 years, Ghana, we have for the past 5 years, we have been within the range of 13. We are looking at 11, 12. We are doing within the range of 13. Let's say 14. Okay, it means that the pace of growth is slow. Meanwhile, the resources is there. The base is there for us to collect. So what are we doing that we have not been able to collect? So if we are not able to collect, then also means that the people have not also been compliant enough. The people have not been compliant enough. Then we can look at why are the people not compliant? Why are you not able to collect the revenue? I've talked about the very manual systems that we having, that we are having currently. Okay, in your the tax collection systems, and I've talked about inability to implement the e-invoicing system very well for everyone to be on that system. Now GRA calls a group of entities and then do the training for them, but it's so slow. How many registered companies do you have in Ghana? About 83,000 companies. So if you are even doing 100 a month, how many can you do in a year? You can do 1,200 in a year. And how many companies register in a year? We do more than 10,000 a year. So every year, the addition to company registration exceeds how many you are able to roll on. So why don't you? And the reason why they are not able to do it, in my opinion, is that GRA wants to do it. Okay, I have always advocated that system. Leave it to professionals to compete it. Okay, so when you go to Dubai, when you go to the Emirates, you have a similar system, but there are different software, there are different providers who provide that system for people to use.
Right.
So I go, just like accounting system, I will go and use the one that is much more user-friendly for me to use. So there are so many. They are all plugged into the revenue authority systems. Okay, so just give out the requirements, what you want, how you want it, and then allow system developers go and develop their software systems that meet your requirement. Okay, then implement it. They will go and chase after people to hook onto that system. They will even incentivize people to hook onto that particular system. Then you'll be the boss.
Right.
Sit up over there, be checking which of the system don't meet your criteria, which of them, then you take them off. Then you put the penalization on the developers so that they will go and push to get more people, just like accounting software. I mean, any serious business is using an accounting software.
Yeah.
It may be an Excel in one way or the other, or an accounting software. Did GRA give it to businessmen to use it?
No.
Why? See, people are hot pushing us. You are getting emails, you are getting messages. They are competing for your system. Once you are even using accounting software, people want to develop a different one to support what you have.
Yeah.
They've made it competitive. I'm thinking, I say that system, the e-invoicing, it is one of the cracker that GRA can use to generate the revenue that they are looking for. So they should rather make it competitive. Open it up. Tell people what you want, how you want it, and give it out. Let people develop it. If you develop it doesn't meet our criteria, we don't give it to you. But if you develop it meet our criteria, let people go and use it. And let's just see how it's going to be.
I see. Right. So very interesting things. So let's talk about the informal sector. I mean, I think it's a beating conversation. I mean, we've had it over and over again. You hear, every time we talk about taxes, we talk about the informal sector, and it feels like we're speaking about it too much. But we can still avoid it anyway. So, I mean, we often hear about them, they being a missing piece when it comes to the whole taxation thing. How exactly can we bring in more of the informal economy into the tax net without actually stifling those businesses and those individual? Some of them are not even called businesses, because if a carpenter or a mason individually, runs their own thing, probably not a business, maybe just a sole proprietor. Well, of course, maybe a business as well. But tell us, how can we do that?
Okay, I look at it from two perspectives. Apart from GRA putting in place systems in place to be able to identify and then get all of them, I look at it from two perspectives: education and assistance. The informal, a lot of them even don't understand. There was a research, I was part of it, and you could see that a lot of our market women who do drive a lot of businesses, do a lot of volumes. You'll be surprised the volumes that the market women drive. Yeah. A lot of them don't have understanding of the taxes. So even for us in the formal sector, that we think that we understand taxes, you can see someone asks you a question and realize, you don't understand. So someone can tell you that when I buy fuel, I pay tax on it. Why should I pay PAYE? So it tells you the kind of, and this person is not from the informal. I mean, educated, having been in school, and then being in the formal sector, either working for a bank or a consultant service, and go ask a question like this. Yeah. It's not a person's fault. It is the education that we have within the system. So my thinking is that GRA will have to collaborate with the institutions NCCE, that has to NCCE and co, have a much more better driven education about taxes. Okay, and the need for taxes. Right. And then because when you look at the advanced world where tax payment compliance is high, everyone who does business, he knows the tax that he has to pay. True. So when you have an expatriate coming to Ghana, what he wants, one of the first thing that he wants to know, apart from living conditions, security and co, first thing, get me a tax consultant. Why?
They need to understand.
They need to understand. And that is what they have been educated to do over there.
Over there.
So we need to do the education. We need to educate the people, those we are calling them informal. We need to do a much more driven education to let them understand. They even need to understand the kind of tax that you are supposed to pay. Okay. Then I look at the support. I'm a consultant. If you take my I'm a student now. If I'm serving you as a consultant, and then you are taking my hour, maybe I'm charging you a $50 an hour,
Right.
or I'm charging you a $200, or let me give you a retainer, a $4,000. Look, I'm telling the market woman, someone who sits at Makola, pay me $4,000 a year, and the person will say, should I go and suffer and bring that money to you? He doesn't see the value of it. How should I give you 4,000, 20,000 Ghana cedis a year, or 100,000 Ghana cedis to a big four? Let's say a big four company. How can that be done? The person don't understand it. So what I am thinking, and please permit me to borrow what the former Minister of Education suggested, that we are talking about the issue of avoiding people who are not chartered tax professionals from filing returns and co. We are talking about that. And he made a fantastic suggestion. He said, look, instead of you going for that, if I were the GRA, if I were you, I would have rather gone around, train as many people JHS leavers. Because look, let me tell you, JHS leavers are doing TikTok.
Yeah.
They are doing optimization.
True.
Who told you they don't know how to use IT? They are so good. I was part of the 1 million codes program, and I was training people from that. It was organized by the Minister of Education, by the Minister of Communication, and I was so shocked when I was talking about IT digitization, then the data protection, the kind of inputs that people who have finished SSS, that I was thinking that it should be people who have worked for a number of years to be able to churn out those ideas, the kind of ideas that they were bringing. I was so shocked. So don't think that a JHS leaver is a minor, or in terms of like IT and all these things. Okay. So the former Minister of Education was saying this, that I would have rather trained the JHS leavers and go around the market, go around the places, help people to fill their forms. At times they don't know how to fill the forms. No, they'll say, Minana, how do I put in this code, that code? If our GRA, the commissioner, Mr. Sapon, I would have brought in because they have a very solid training center unit. I would have granularized a lot of the procedures. Okay, those that are not high advanced, but more advanced, I would have granularized them, trained a lot of young men. I would have even joined the 1 million codes program. Train a lot of young men on task, join up with CIT. Train a lot of young men, because some of them, they are forms. And calculation. Now, the GRA portal, when you put numbers there, it does the calculation for you. So just train people how to use it so that they can go in. Because the one who cannot pay $4,000 a year, $20,000 a year to a big four, to an experienced consultant, can have a young man assisting him or her to complete the tax return. Right. And for all you know, you will see that by the time you are done, it is maybe a 500 cedis that is going to pay a month, a 400 cedis that is going to pay a month, 1,000 cedis that is going to pay a month. That amount of money may not be so much. So I'm looking at it from this perspective. The education, educate them, and then the support. GRA government will need to come up with a much strategic way to support the informal sector, because they are unable and they are not interested in going to pay a $4,000, a $5,000, $20,000 a year to a big four or to a consultant to provide tax services. But you can help them.
You can help.
Yeah.
So, beyond the education and the support, do we have the systems in place?
That's why I earlier talked about putting in place that systems to be able to do that. I talk about
the technology and
the technology.
Okay, let's talk about technology for a few minutes. It's often seen as like a magic bullet when it comes to we're talking about EVAT to tracking system. How much has tech actually changed compliance so far?
Yes, tech has really change compliance. It has, it has become almost Nigeria is building an analytics center. I think for some years I've known that they are doing that work, and I don't know the extent to which they have completed that project actually. So and all is to be able to do data analytics, be able to analyze transactions, be able to analyze information, to actually be able to estimate, to know who is paying tax, and be able to know how much tax you're supposed to pay. So tech is a big boom within the space to be able to streamline compliance. Okay, and one good thing about tech is this: we say that internet don't forget, right? So one thing about it is that the information that we are feeding into the tech space and co. I mean, there's a lot of audit trail. You can't just go and change it. If someone made a payment of 20,000 Ghana cedis to you, you can go and tell someone manually that it was 5,000. But if you are using technology, you cannot change it because technology will pick the 20,000. It's difficult to lie to technology. So that's one of the reasons that I encourage that GRA, because they are looking at such a big projection, they should really embrace technology. Now look at in Brazil, before now, they were doing manual filing and co. And then Brazil went on e-filing, and boom, their tax revenue shot up. Okay, I had a conversation with one from Nigeria, and he was telling me how their revenue grew more than 200% because they were going technology. So, and then also look at level of compliance. Just imagine, first, you would have gone to GRA, you would have prepared your VAT return, let your boss sign, you drive to GRA office, okay, and then be in a queue, all right, for an hour or 2 or 30 minutes, depending on the day that you go, and then get it stamped. About 4 processes. Someone vet it, stamp it, another person do another, record it, another person generate an invoice for you, then you go and pay. It's a whole day, almost a half day work, especially if you go on deadlines. Right, but now with the GRA taxpayer portal, I'll sit in the comfort of my home, and then I will file my tax return. In the comfort of my home, I'll pay the VAT. I won't go to the bank. So this is the kind of, and it's one of the reasons that GRA, the tax to GDP is going up. First it was around 11, and now we are going to 13. We are going to 13, heading to 14. So technology is quite significant. Right. But what I would ask that it has to be advanced. So currently in Ghana, there is no accounting software that links with GRA taxpayer portal. So I'll have to still do everything, download it, and then go to GRA portal and enter the numbers over there. Okay, so it is one big way. But meanwhile, software developers have developed all systems in place that can sync with the taxpayer portal. All right, to be able to. So they need to also embrace technology to an advanced level. Right. Yes, they are doing well, but they actually need to up the game. They actually need to up it so that they will be able to have a much more strong control. And I still want to stress the that if GRA is able to do that, because every revenue is linked to VAT. Okay, apart from the exemption. And per it, exemption are also supposed to be recorded. Every revenue is linked to VAT. So if you're able to capture VAT, which kind of revenue is going to escape you? All right. So this is one of the things that they really need to work on to be able to achieve. And then they also need to this perspective of bringing in experts to support them. They may not be able to do all internally.
Right. So of course, so we're talking about technology and how that can help. I don't think it's just about reinventing the wheel, trying to create new softwares, and can't we do some collaborations with fintech and even mobile money to be able to do some of the things we're talking about?
Yes, that's what I was even talking about. None of them is able to sync, to be able to throw numbers into the taxpayer portal. So the systems are there, just be able to make use of it. Okay. Now we're talking about the National Identification Authority trying to hold GRA to ransom. All right. So, I mean, if you have such a system in place, okay, so it tells you the future of technology. If this was possible, and let's say now we have synced our TIN to our Ghana card. Okay, if this was possible and we had a blackout, now when you go to GRA taxpayer portal, it's my TIN, my Ghana card that is there. If there's a blackout, you are able to access it. How can I access my tax record? Okay, so there should be a kind of collaboration, which I think I've advocated that in Ghana, you should not register your business day one, and day two, walk to GRA office to register your business with them again for tax purposes. By the time you finish registering your business with the ORC, automatically it sync automatically. Okay, I read one report that they are looking at, but it is long overdue. So if you want to, so in Ghana, I can register my company, then auditor will write a letter for me. I'll go to the bank and I'll be able to open a bank account. I will operate. I can operate for 2, 3, 4 years. And in Ghana law, if you are not, you don't audit, you don't assess someone to tax for 5 years. That years you can't go the status bar. Okay, if it's 6 years, you can go a status bar. The principle of status bar, you will be barred. You can't go there over the 6 years.
I see.
Okay, so if you are not able to do that for the past 6 years, it means that all revenue is gone. But that 6 years, I operated the bank account. Okay. That 6 years, I was able to do almost everything. So why don't you sync your systems? Okay, the Momo. Now a lot of businesses are even not taking payment.
They're fiscal cash anymore.
They're not using fiscal cash, and a lot of them are even not putting a lot into the banking.
Yeah.
They are using Momo. It's easy for them. All right. They only get a letter from the bank, increase their limit. And that is all. Yeah. Operate everything. So if you are unable to sync these things into your system, how will you be able to ascertain? In this case, it's going to be as they tell you. So if I come and tell them my revenue, because our tax is on an self-assessment basis. If I assess myself to 20,000, and you are able to audit me, and you find that it was 30,000, okay, you are free. But if I assess myself to 20,000, and you are unable to audit me, 20,000 stays. And even if I did 20,000, and you come and it was actually 100,000, and you're able to find 30,000 still stays.
All right.
70,000, I don't. But with technology, I will be able to have all these numbers. Okay. And this is one of the things they need to actually embrace to let technology, be a game changer. Currently, if I have to file my CIT, corporate income tax return, I have to enter my numbers into the taxpayer portal. Okay. It generates amount of tax liability invoice for me to go and pay. All right. The numbers are bulk. In my opinion, with technology, you have to sync the systems. By the time you go, file returns, all the revenue that you have generated is there waiting for you. Expenses that has been recorded within it is waiting for you. Okay. This is what we call technology.
Right.
Okay. So that if you dispute any of them, then you go to GRA office and go and correct it. So there's some of the things I think we need to look at. If you're able to do this, I'm thinking that the 360 is within reach, very much within reach.
But do you think that the GRA's digitalization agenda is moving very fast enough to support this target?
That's what I said, that they need to move faster. I don't think. If you are taking 3 years, 3 good years, when you have a law backing you to implement the EVAT, okay, 3 good years to implement EVAT. So you can just tell me how fast you are moving. So in my opinion, they are doing massively well. I have good contact. I know what's going on there. They are doing massively well. But what I'm thinking that it is not, the pace is not as, I know, as you said, we don't want to bring political influence and co into it. All right. Okay. So they are doing massively well. But my thinking is that it is not as fast as it ought to be. Not that we think it should be, that it ought to be, because technology is moving so much fast. Now AI is coming to take over.
That's true.
So when are you going to get used to big data? Okay, and then when are you going to get used to data analytics, data science, before AI takes over? If you don't move fast and AI takes over, what are you going to get? You can't get anything. So some of the support technology. That's why I say that you can't. They normally don't need to do everything by themselves. Okay. Give the criteria. Allow system developers. Look, when you go to Ghana Telecom University, we have a lot of developers. You have a lot of students over there that can develop systems. That can develop very simple things. So leave it to the IT mind to bring up something to help you achieve your target.
Right. Okay. So technology. On the flip side, what risks are there if we over rely on these technologies we're talking about, especially considering data security? And I know you are a data person, so you should be able to speak to that.
Yes. One thing I have just recently, I led a team to develop a tax software.
Okay.
And it's a broaden my understanding about development. I see garbage in, garbage out. So if you over rely on technology in the wrong way, then you are definitely going to get a bad effect. All right.
Okay.
So if also you don't implement technology professionally, securely, you're also going to expose, you could do a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the risk that we are going to have. And then if you don't put in proper backup systems, then you're also going to have a lot of loss. Let me bring in one thing. And there was a fire at the LTO some years ago, I think about 5 years ago, and almost a lot of files got burnt. And if there was an audit report that they have not implemented, they have not collected the money, that audit report will remain still. Unless the taxpayers do not know and then they walk to GRA, it will remain still. Okay, these are some of the things. Over relying on the manual system, when it got bent, they don't have anything. Now GRA will be asking you, can you give me this information? Can you give me that information? Now I'll give you what I think I should give it to you. All right, need to know basis. Okay, so that's issue of over reliance. So when they want to look at technology, you don't need to just throw it. That's why I'm saying that you have to bring in criteria. Not because I'm saying that go to Ghana Tech University, so you just go and throw it over there and everyone bring in and then you just dump it into your systems. All right. So you need to put in place measures to ensure, because data security is one thing you need to look at. Okay. And then data privacy is one thing you also need to look at. And also continuity is another thing that you also need to look at. True. So you don't have to do it's okay, you're going technology without being mindful of these things. You have to be very mindful. And that's why you also need to get good consultants to support you achieve this.
It. All right. Okay. We have to go. Our time is almost up, and let's talk about the way forward. I was actually going to come to the implications really on businesses and all of that, but you've spoken about the fact that you don't think that there should be new tax.
No, it shouldn't.
Introductions and all of that. So we'll talk about the way forward. So if you were advising GRA today, what reforms, what 3 reforms you think that they need to put in place? I know we're speaking about them. I mean, we spread them across 3 reforms you think that GRA needs to put in place to be able to hit the targets we're talking about.
What I will first ask GRA, one, human capital. No, we are talking about technology, everything that we are talking about. If there's no human capital to do it, garbage in, garbage out, they will never be able to do. If you bring me a tax report to my client and it is not correct, we will object it. Okay. And I'll find proper ways, good ways to help my client object it. And at times I could be laughing at you, could be thinking that you could have done it this way and gotten the revenue, but you didn't do it. But for my client, I will defend my client and my client will get away with it. So human capital. And one thing about economic growth, it is not only industrialization. One of the theories talk about it, the human capital development. Right. All right. South Africa, what South Africa did? They developed their human capital. So they trained their staff for a number of years. So they became so good. And from what I understand from GRA, they're also doing something similar. So what I would encourage is that the human capital development. So you need to train your staff, the compliance staff, the audit staff, almost every staff to be IT savvy, so that they will be able to embrace the technology that we are bringing. I'm telling you, I went to one office and then they asked me that this report cannot be gotten. So I asked you, what system are you using? Aren't you using this particular system? Then I have to show them how to run that report. It is not that it can't be done because the one operating it is unable to use it. So. You can have a big screen over there and the one operating don't know how to use it. So one, human capital, develop your capital to be IT savvy, because that's where you're going. To be good data analyst, to be good AI analyst, to be very good implementers. Okay, so that they will be able to run with the technology that you want to bring in. Now, 2, I would also, this one would have gone to both GRA and government. I would advise government should look at an option, because you're going to do enforcement, an option of lowering tax rates in Ghana. Our tax rates are quite high. Okay, and we are not getting a lot of tax revenue. It is not because you don't have high tax rates. It is because we have less paying. All right, and because we have less paying, and we have a target, we have to increase our tax,
so
our tax rate.
people that
Definitely,
we are
few
milking them.
are paying more, and the burden is much more on them. So
right.
let's look at lowering the tax rate. If you do that, then you can go into the market and then do enforcement, and you do a much more efficient enforcement.
Right.
IT-based enforcement, technology-based enforcement. Then let me see, if you get a tax officer who has been one dealt for helping for maybe a bribery or enco, others will be very much aware.
Okay.
All right. So enforcement should not be only on the taxpayers, both internally and then externally. So this was my thinking that this is what we can actually do.
Now, finally, what will success look like in 2028? Is it about hitting the target or building a fairer and more efficient tax system? In your opinion?
One of the attributes of a good tax system is fairness. Okay, so it should not be that you have scratched businesses to rake in the 360 billion Ghana cedis that you want, but it should be in a manner that it is fair. Everyone pays what's supposed to be paid, and it doesn't become burdensome. So we have achieved 360 million Ghana cedis, but our tax rates are low. That's what I'm looking at, meeting the target. And we have achieved 365 million Ghana cedis, and the number of taxpayers has increased from 3 million to like 10 million out of the 18. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at, target being like. And we have achieved 360 million Ghana cedis, and our tax administration is so seamless. So seamless. I don't need a lot of procedures. I don't need to hire a consultant to help me do routine activities. Yes. Right. So this is what I see. And I think if the GRA is able to do and also help taxpayers prepare their returns and file their returns, then it will be very good.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Amuhini. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me.
For sharing your thoughts with us. Very, very interesting things we've spoken about this morning. It's been a very insightful conversation on the GRA's plan to raise 360 billion Ghana cedis in tax revenue by 2028. And we've heard about the opportunities, the challenges, and the reforms that could make or break this particular target. And at the end of the day, it's not just about the numbers. It's about building a system or a tax system that is fair, that is efficient, and trusted by all. Well, a big thank you to my guest, Mr. Richard Amohini. He's a tax analyst. Thank you so much for breaking it down so well this morning. And of course, thank you, our cherished listeners, for staying with us right from 6:15 till now. We're so grateful. But of course, this conversation doesn't end here. It continues in our markets, in our workplaces, and in our communities. Because revenue mobilization affects every one of us. If we are able to mobilize the revenue very well, it translates to roads, some work in healthcare, and every aspect of our lives. All right, so this has been Business Breakfast on Z with me, Nitrevi Hammond. We're back again tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the Business Breakfast on Z. Special thank you to the production team for making this possible. And that's how we go this morning. Please enjoy the rest of your day and make sure that you pay your taxes. Until we meet again, when you think Ghana, think Z. I'll see you tomorrow.